Good evening. It's Friday night. Time for another live. Welcome, everybody. All right, we got some people coming in. It is Friday night, and I decided to do another live. We have so much going on, right? There's so much good news, and there's two things that I generally talk about on my channel. I talk about the spiritual significance of our political situation, the circus. I tell stories. And then I also lately, for the last, say month or so, have been talking a lot about Three-Eye Atlas. And so last night I did a live all about the circus. And so tonight I thought we'd talk about Three-Eye Atlas, but I'm also open to talking about the circus. So we'll see what people are interested in. I don't know if those are different audiences or the same audience who are interested in those subjects. So if you're, you may have noticed on YouTube that there are two lives, and I think it's because they have this new feature on StreamYard where you can stream both horizontally and vertically. And so if you have a phone that you're looking at this on or an iPad, you can opt for the vertical live stream. And if you look at the bottom, like right corner, it has a little like picture of a phone. That's the vertical one. And then if you pick the other one, it's horizontal, which is like for a laptop. So that's why there are two live streams. Hopefully there won't be any lost people today. So like there's 212 people currently here. And let me go just check and make sure we don't have people waiting in the other one like we had last night. Yeah, why does it still say waiting? Oh, do I have to up? Do I have to? Oh no, this says watching now. So people are watching from two different live streams on YouTube. And I don't know. I might disable that feature next time because I don't know if that's better. It's probably better for us to all be in the same chat, right? So let me open up my comments so I can see. Let us know. Let me know where you're zooming in from. Colorado, Canada. Greetings from Little Egypt, Illinois. Oh, nice. Alberta, Canada. Not lost. Okay, so nobody's lost tonight. Last night we had some people lost in the other stream. Tonight everybody's here. So that's great. Oh, it looks like everybody's counted together. So we have 286. I think that includes both streams. Nova Scotia, South Carolina, Philadelphia, Eastern Tennessee, Vicksburg, Mississippi, occupied DC. Yeah, I'm in occupied LA. New York, South Jersey, Burlington, North Carolina, North Idaho, St. Petersburg. I love St. Pete in Florida. I used to go there. It's really nice. Costa Mesa, Colorado, Santa Fe, Lexington, North Carolina, Tucson, Blacksburg, Virginia. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to my live. Tonight, we're talking about Three-Eye Atlas, and we'll also talk about the circus if people are interested. Cape Cod. I used to work on Cape Cod. I worked for the Mashpee tribe. Jacksonville, Florida. Navarre Beach, Florida. I actually helped set up the tribal archives at Mashpee on the in Cape Cod. It's so beautiful there. Show Low, Arizona. Oh my goodness. I know where that is. I used to spend a lot of time in Show Low, North Carolina. Yeah, hit the like button. Thanks, Riley. And hopefully my mods are here. I should have reached out to them. I have them all added, so I feel like if they show up, then they all have access to moderation, and hopefully they're all here. So there's a lot going on. Ireland, welcome everybody. There's a lot going on right now. And so I wanted to start off by talking about Three-Eye Atlas. It's really exciting what's going on with Three-Eye Atlas, because for those of you who, I don't know if you're all following or just some of you are following, but Three-Eye Atlas is this interstellar object, and it was first spotted in July. And I think it was actually an amateur astronomer who first noticed it. You would think that NASA would have, but correct me if I'm wrong. And so at first it was just, oh wow, interstellar object. We've only ever seen 2 other interstellar objects, so this is really unusual. And it should have been really major news, because whenever in astronomy and astrophysics, when you have kind of a unique event that you haven't had a lot of, it's usually very big news. And yet it really hasn't been big news. Oh yeah, so James is letting us know it was Madagascar where they first, is that where they first identified it, in Madagascar? Um, yeah, and so, you know, and so it's become a really interesting subject for a lot of people, not just astrophysicists and astronomers, but also psychics and light workers and healers and mystics and all those people who are tuning into it. And so what we see out there is we see some people who are more in the scientific field who are talking about it from that perspective, like people like the Harvard professor Avi Loeb, and then people like Stephen Burns and Dobsonian Power, who's an amateur astronomer who's got a telescope, and he's been doing all these videos on it. And then you have a lot of, not a lot, but you have some psychics who are also talking about it and who are tuning into it. We have some remote viewers who are remote viewing it. So we have a lot of different kind of perspectives out there. But it's also news. It's also of political significance because, our official space agencies have not really been covering it. And the story that we're being told about NASA is that, oh, there was government shutdown, so they couldn't share any data. And we don't really know why European Space Agency, I mean, they did share a couple pictures, and I don't know, did China share some pictures? Because I saw some stuff on China, but I couldn't tell if it was clickbait. There's a lot of clickbait out there. There's a lot of people who are making videos about this who really are just making stuff up. So you got to wade through all that to get to the good stuff. So I've been looking at things like the preprint page where you can see, scientific papers that are preprints. I've been looking at Astronomy Telegram, and so I've just been looking for videos by astronomers. And so there was some newer pictures that came out just recently. And if you haven't, I don't know if you haven't been following my post, you might not know this, but a few days ago there was an image that came out, and I'm trying to remember. I have all these images here which I can show, but there was an image that came out that seemed to suggest that the comet, so they're calling it a comet. So the mainstream scientific society is, calling it a comet, but there are now 11 different anomalies which would suggest that it's something other than a comet. And even though that's the case, they're persisting in calling it a comet. Now, some people are calling it an object, an interstellar object, but a lot of people are still calling it a comet. Now, the government has opened back up in the United States, and we still haven't seen any images. And this is bizarre for a number of reasons. You might think, oh, it makes sense that if the government shut down, they couldn't share any images. Well, not exactly, because when you're dealing with really important scientific discoveries that are, you want to get the data out as quickly as possible, and you want to share it with other scientists as quickly as possible. And you don't actually need like the staff of NASA to be there for images from a telescope to be shared from one scientist to another, right? So I think there was one person was it Avi Loeb or someone who said, it could just be a matter of a graduate student who had access to the images sharing it, with someone else. So it was kind of strange that there was no conversation about this object in the scientific community. So here's some news someone's sharing. And so I didn't see this divergent moon. I did see some videos, people talking about signals, But then I heard an astronomer saying that it was people were misinterpreting what happened, that they were actually just talking about spectroscopy, spectroscope. Now I'm saying the word wrong. Spectrographic analysis. And so that's what astrophysicists do when they measure like the chemical composition of stars and other things out there. And they can look at the different colors and determine like the chemical composition. And so let's discuss this, because what I heard one astronomer say was they were picking up certain chemical signatures from 3i Atlas, and that somebody was calling that a radio signal when it was really like a chemical signature. And it's not the same. But you're saying Loeb actually said this. Now, is it really Loeb? It wasn't AI? Because, that's the other thing, is we got a lot of AI videos out there pretending to be people. So, but I have heard some people saying there's signals. Now, today, Loeb says it has been sending signals that can only be manufactured. They were deciphering the complex layered messages, but it seems to have disappeared. Is this I didn't see this on Loeb's Medium. So was this on an interview he did? So what I do is I look at, let me see if I can share screen. I look at, okay, I got to go and share screen, don't I? Okay, I'm going to share the screen. So what I do is every day I go and look and see, what is Avi Loeb talking about today, right? So you all can see that, right? So this is Avi Loeb's Medium, and this is where he posts, every couple of days. And I didn't see anything about signals on his site, and he does tend to post everything that he's interested in. But I know that he also does a lot of interviews every day. Like he's being interviewed by different podcasters, by news stations. He's all over the place. Oh, okay. Terry said it's on his podcast. Okay. So I didn't listen to his podcast. Someone's saying they want him to resign. That's so anti-scientific. Okay, so this is, I'm gonna stop sharing this. The bandwagon I've been on, or the soapbox I've been on, is that the scientific method requires us to take seriously any data that we collect. And if you have a hypothesis and there's a lot of data coming out that just confirms your hypothesis, then you have to consider another hypothesis. And this is where I agree with astrophysicist Avi Loeb, because he's saying we need to consider different possibilities. But there are, some scientists who are just like, we're not going to consider any other possibilities. We're just going to stick with our hypothesis that this is a comet, even though we can't explain a lot of the behavior of this object. And I consider that anti-scientific, So now I'm a philosopher. For those who don't know me, maybe I should introduce myself. I'm a psychic medium, a medical intuitive, and I'm also a philosopher. I used to be a philosophy professor, and I also have a background in astrophysics. And so I like to come at things from different perspectives. I like to rely on intuitive information, rational, logical information, and also empirical data. And I think these are all equally valid sources of knowledge. I think it's problematic when people discount certain types of knowledge. So like scientists who will discount psychic knowledge, and psychics who will discount logical or empirical data. I think we need all three. And since I'm trained in all three, I think that I can appreciate them. And so as somebody who is a philosopher of science, I do find it, problematic when people say, oh, we're not going to entertain any other hypotheses but this one. And we're also not going to release the data or discuss the data. So the way science works is people produce data and then they share it with others and they discuss it. And if you have a hypothesis, you've got to take criticism from others. And your data has to stand up to interrogation by other scientists. And so, but we're in a situation right now where that's not happening, because the best data out there is the data coming from the Mars HiRISE telescope rover. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's called the HiRISE. And I think that the quality of the images from that device are, I think I heard 3 times as good as the ones from Hubble. So, and that's the data we don't have access to because it's not being released. And so a lot of people have this question, why isn't it being released? And so, like an Avi Loeb's medium, he said, why aren't we getting the data? When are we going to get the data? And I just went to NASA's, website today because I was on some other chat and people were saying, oh, but NASA is discussing it. And I go to NASA periodically to their website to check, are they saying anything? And I just went today and let's see, I was going to bring it up. I have too many things. I have too many tabs open. But I wanted to bring it up just to show it to people. Let's see, can I share? I have two different, let me see if I can share it from this other one. I've got Chrome and DuckDuck open. See if I can share it from DuckDuck. Let's see, window. No, I can't. It's only letting me share from Chrome. Okay. Well, I just have to describe it to you then. So I went to NASA's website today. I can't pull it up, I guess, because it's on the wrong. It's on the wrong thing. I have so many windows open. Let me see if I can. I'm going to open it on Chrome so that I can share it with you. So I went to NASA because I go there periodically to see, are they sharing anything yet? And then you might think, well, they haven't shared anything because of the shutdown and they haven't recovered from the shutdown. Well, except they've shared other images. So it's interesting that here's this super, super important astronomical event going on, something they've never seen. They've never seen anything like this. And you would think they'd be eager to share it, but they're not. And yet they have time to share new images from, on other topics. So let me just show you, share screen. I got it moved over to Chrome now. So here's NASA. So if we go to NASA, right, they do have an image gallery, right? They have a couple of, areas on their website where they're covering, and so you look at this, oh, it looks like they are covering 3i Atlas, except when you actually go in and look at what they're sharing and you look at the dates, okay? August 7th to August 15th, right? If you look at all of these images, the most recent images they have are from a couple of months ago, right? A lot has happened since then. In fact, the most interesting stuff that's happened, see, August 6th, right? None of these are recent images, okay? So 3i Atlas was going by Mars in October, early October. That's when we did get the really good images. And we still haven't seen those images. Not even one. So, yeah. All right. So what's interesting, I think, also about 3i Atlas is most recently there was an image of it where it appeared to have broken up. It had all these jets. And so the hypothesis was, oh, it exploded, because this sometimes happens, right? Comets go too close to the sun, they get overheated, they explode. It happens. They have other comets that have done this. But then they found a couple of days ago, they have an image of it where it's intact again. So it didn't blow up. Right. Another anomaly. Why did it have this image with all of these jets, which could have been an explosion? And now it's gone from having jets in all these different directions to being just a round object again with no tail, with no real cometary tail, but with like kind of tail and an anti-tail. So it kind of pokes out a little bit on each side. And I do have pictures of that too, which I can show. I don't know. You may have already seen these pictures. All right. So Golden Terra says that Loeb says he's hoping new NASA images appear next week. I hope so. We can't wait. We can't wait to see them. Okay. Oh, this person's funny. I'm feeling victorious. Just find the like button. Okay. So, all right. I'm just looking for questions. Oh yeah, let's address this. D.D. Wilson, there's a psychic named Sterling, and he said Three-Eye Atlas is a comet and not an alien ship. Why are there different opinions being made about this phenomena by different psychics? Well, for the same reason that we have different opinions being given by different astrophysicists, right? Everyone's not going to agree, especially if everyone's not looking at the same data. And so let's talk about psychics for a minute and how it works. We all have different gifts. And so Sterling, I'm actually not, I think he's a psychic. Is he a psychic medium? I'm not sure. So you have psychics who use their clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, clairaudient, different, clair gifts. And then you have psychic mediums who are able to talk to spirits, communicate with spirits. And then you have some people who call themselves mediums, but also communicate with beings who are not human. I call myself a psychic medium, but also a mystic, so I can communicate with not only the dead, but angels, spirit guides, rocks, plants, trees, animals, and ETs. And so everybody doesn't have the same gifts. Everybody doesn't have the same access to the same types of data. And so if somebody is a psychic, for example, but they're not a medium, then they might only be able to, kind of try to visualize clairvoyantly or listen for information about something. They'll be able to tune into something. Like if you're a psychic, you can tune into a person and get information about them, or you can tune into an object. If you have the gift of psychometry, you can take the person's, bracelet and hold it and tune into it and get information. But if you're a psychic medium, you could also tune into that person's dead relatives. You could tune into that person's spirit guides. You could talk to that person's dead pets, right? That's a different level of a gift. If you're a remote viewer, then you have the ability to kind of move your consciousness out of your body and send it to a particular location, and then use your kind of clairvoyance. It's kind of similar to clairvoyance, to look around and see what's going on. And so there's someone on YouTube who called themselves a remote viewer, and they said they compared their data, remote viewing data, with other remote viewers, and that several of them saw that this was a spaceship, and they saw, a bunch of beings inside, right? I didn't get that information. I got different information, but what I got is that, and I've been kind of reporting on this for the last, few weeks. I was able to channel Three-Eye Atlas. And so channeling is one, again, we have a lot of words for things, but we're not always doing the same things. I call it channeling just because people kind of understand that word better. But what it really is like merging your consciousness with another being. That's what I do. And so I went up, I basically had to raise my energy way up in order for Three-Eye Atlas and I to have a conversation. And I actually was communicating with the rock or ship itself. And it was explained to me that it's okay if we think of it as a rock, because humans are not afraid of rocks, floating through space, but we are afraid of ships, and they don't want us to be afraid. And so I was able to actually communicate with the ship, right, or with the rock, right? You could think of it as a sentient rock or the ship. I did not connect with like alien beings, like anthropomorphic beings, like with arms and legs walking around with green skin. I didn't connect with beings like that. Um, doesn't mean they're not there. It just means that that's not the way I worked. I also communicated with my star family in another instance where they gave me information about Three Eye Atlas. And then most recently, I connected directly with the sun and got information from the sun and my guides about Three Eye Atlas. So these are all different ways to work. I do think that if enough intuitives get together and focus on the same thing, that we should find that we get generally the same information, or that there should be a lot of overlap. Just like we would expect that with a lot of astronomers pointing their telescope at Three Eye Atlas. However, what we have seen with astronomers is we've seen very different images coming from different astronomers. And it might be easy to say now, when it's really in early days, to say, oh, well, why are all these astronomers getting different pictures? They're getting different pictures because they use different telescopes. They have a different level of equipment. And that's true with psychics. We have different levels of ability. It also has to do with where you point your telescope and how you adjust your telescope, right? What are you looking for? Where are you pointing it? Also, how are you processing the images? And so when someone takes a picture, astrophotography of something, they'll take several pictures and then stack them on top of each other in order to get the pictures that we see. And then you have other astronomers, like there was some people saying that some of the images that are out there were not processed properly. And that's why some of them appeared to show a tail, but in fact, later images showed no tail. And it kind of doesn't make sense that it would have a tail one day, not have a tail the next day, and then have a tail the following day, right? And so we could also ask that of astronomers. Why are they getting different pictures? Why are different astrophysicists coming up with different theories, right? It's all going to come out in the wash, right? So eventually, once everybody has access to all the data, and once we've all had a chance to talk about this, so like if all of the astrophysicists have access to the high-rise data, for example, and there should be probably, I don't know what the number of images there are, but I would guess there's probably thousands of images. And you have all of these different teams, right, at different universities, different research institutes, all working on the same, you know, spectroscopic images, astrophotographic images, right? If they're all looking at the same data, and then over time, they're going to start to gel, right? I think the same thing would happen with psychics, and that's one of my plans is I have this school, Metatron's Academy, that I'm starting, and right now it's more in theory than in reality. But I've like written the proposal for it and the curriculum, and it's a school of psychic and science where we bring together the psychic and the science. We bring the scholars and it's a combination of scholarship and intuitive inquiry. And I think if we were to bring a whole bunch of psychics together and have them all talk about Three Eye Atlas and what they picked up, we would find some commonalities. We would find that people were getting, similar information. What I like to do is I like to get information that I've channeled, and then, oh, that's my sister. I don't know if you could hear that beep. Is I like to get information, channel information, and then I like to see, is there empirical data that supports what I got? And that's what has happened recently. That's why I've been excited. So when I channeled a few days ago, what the most recent image showed was Three Eye Atlas having all of these jets, and Avi Loeb and other people were saying it looks like it might have exploded, right? And I then tuned in, psychically to ask, okay, did this explode? And I got no, it did not explode. And I was told that not only did it not explode, but that there were going to be images of it intact that the astronomers were going to find in subsequent days. I was told, and then the very 2 days later, we had an image. So the most recent image shows it completely intact. So this is what I love. When the psychic work, the psychic data matches the scientific data. And it should, if it's just raw data, right? If it's not too heavily influenced by the hypothesis. So sometimes your hypothesis can influence how you collect data, where you collect data, and how you process that data. And that's why we have this idea of repeatability in science, that you have to be able to repeat something. You have to have another lab, another group of scientists somewhere else have to get the same data and come to the same conclusions as you do. Otherwise, we're not sure if you were right. So I think that, we're going to find out over time. Okay, I am going to look at questions too, but there was something else I wanted to talk about today, November 14th, on Dabsodian power. And this is an amateur astronomer who is in, I think he's in Brazil. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I forget what country he is, but he has his own telescope, and he's been doing these amazing lives and posts for about 3i Atlas for quite a while. Today, he was talking about a new scientific paper, not really, I don't know if a paper, but a presentation at a conference at the American Physical Society, which is one of the physics academic conferences. And that this scientist was actually talking about how 3i Atlas suggests that maybe there's some other force in the universe that we're not aware of yet, and maybe it's related to how gravity and quantum forces work together. And of course, this is what physicists and astrophysicists have been kind of focused on for a while, is how do we unite these different forces into a grand unified theory. And I think string theory was one of those grand unified theories, but I think there's debate about that now, and correct me in the comments. Because when I was younger, I did astrophysics a long time ago when I was very young. And so I'm not up to date on the newest theories, but back then string theory was the controversial newest theory that was potentially going to be a grand unified theory. I've tried to keep up a little bit. It seems like people now aren't big fans of the string theory. But the bottom line is that, he's in Portugal. I was kind of close because, Brazil, they speak Portuguese. That's probably what my mind went. So Dabsodian power is in Portugal. And so this new presentation, this just happened November 7th by a physicist. They're actually saying, could what we're seeing with 3i Atlas suggest something about this grand unified theory we've been trying to figure out? And for me, that confirms what I said a couple of weeks ago when I was channeling 3i Atlas. 3i Atlas told me that the scientists are running around with their heads, like chickens with their heads cut off right now, because they don't know how to make sense of the data. The data is not confirming the hypothesis of a comet, but it's also not confirming any other hypothesis, right? They don't know what this thing is. And so they're kind of trying to figure out what this thing is. And they told me that the reason they're not talking about it is because they don't know what to say about it. And what they don't want to say is, we don't know. And what they don't want to say is, our standard model is probably wrong, right? And because 3i Atlas is creating a scientific revolution. It's questioning kind of the fundamental laws that are the basis of the standard model, standard, astrophysical theories of the universe, and even just physics, basic laws of physics. So that's what they told me, right? And since they told me that, and I talked about this on a video a few weeks ago, I see articles like this or presentations like this. I feel like that's confirming what I'm saying. They're talking about a whole new grand unified theory that's being proposed out of the data coming out of 3i Atlas. That's exactly what 3i Atlas told me was going to happen. So you see, I think it's possible to get data through psychic means, and then to get data through empirical means. And then this guy, these scientists who gave this presentation, they might be theoretical astrophysicists, I'm guessing, because they're talking about a grand unified theory. That's theoretical astrophysics, which was my field. When I was in astrophysics, I was in theoretical astrophysics, cosmology, nature of the universe, origin of the universe. That was my interest. It's still my interest. So I think it's happening. So I'm really excited about that. So I just heard that today on, I was going to show you, yeah, I can show you that image. I have all of these windows open. It's just like, where are they? I got to pull them up. But I wanted to show you, here it is. So I'm going to do a share screen again, and I can show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. All right, so this is Dobsonian Power. This is his website, Tiago, in Portugal, and he's citing this article, right? It's actually a presentation, a paper presentation at a conference at Brown University on November 7th. 3IA Atlas may reveal information as to how quantum mechanics and gravity are connected. So if you know anything about physics, physicists have been trying to connect gravity and quantum mechanics for forever, for years. Okay, let me look at what people are saying. I think I've been talking long enough. So that's my update on 3i Atlas. Welcome to the woo-woo nation. Hope that's meant in a positive way. Sometimes people say woo-woo in a negative way. Okay, so Stephen Hawking said the laws, Echo Raven Writer, lovely name, says that Stephen Hawking said the laws, not just the theories of physics, are evolving along with everything else. When did he say that? He's not around now to see 3i Atlas. Too bad, huh? But of course, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, there are lots of anomalies. I've talked about the anomalies at length in my other videos. I could talk about them today too, but here's one from Divergent Moon. They thought it was dispelling mass and therefore getting lighter in weight, but now they find it has increased in mass and they don't know how. Okay, so yeah, this is also something that confirms what I was told in my channeling. I was told it is not broken up. I was told it's going to be intact next time they look at it. I was told it's going to get brighter. And I was told it's going to be found to have greater mass because it actually gained mass from the sun. Typically, a comet, when it gets too hot, it starts to melt and it loses mass. So it's doing the opposite of what a comet would do, which Divergent Moon is also talking about, right? And they don't know how. So this is like anomaly number 11. There have been, I think, at least 11 anomalies, things that data they've picked up that they can't quite explain or that they're struggling to explain and that don't really fit in with the model of a comet. So for example, a comet is really defined as like an icy ball traveling through space with a tail. Like it has to have a tail to be a comet. This thing doesn't have a tail. And they've tried at times to say it has a tail, but then it's like, oh, but it's an anti-tail. It's like saying your dog has an anti-nose because it's in the back of the body, right? It's not, right? But so this interstellar object, it sticks out on one side towards the sun, which it shouldn't do because the solar wind is pushing against the object. So you would expect if there's any gas or dust or debris, it would be behind it with that tail. But instead it's forward and it's kind of like a headlight. It's like forward and bright. But then sometimes they will see kind of jets in all different directions. But they've never really seen the classic comet tail that you would expect to see. That's an anomaly. All the jets are an anomaly. the chemical composition they can't explain. It didn't have enough water to be a comet. It had too much carbon dioxide. It had nickel without iron. So there's a lot of different anomalies that oh, this is a good point from MLR. Yeah, many scientists were channeling and just didn't know it or reveal it, including Da Vinci. Yeah, in fact, that's a whole field of study in my school, Metatrons Academy, is called the eccentrics. And so the eccentrics are people like Da Vinci, people like, Einstein, Tesla, Edison. Who was the guy with the apple on the head? I'm forgetting him. Galileo, Newton. That's the guy with the apple on his head. All of these kind of groundbreaking scientists in our history were also either mystics or intuitives who would dream solutions to problems, or they would, Tesla actually claimed to be talking to ETs. That's where he got his ideas, he said. Einstein talked a lot about spirituality and science and how they were connected, and how he got information from other realms, not just from calculations. And so, yeah, we do have a lot of people, not just in science, but in different fields, like Harriet Tubman, right? She was actually a psychic who was able to successfully free all these people from slavery by using her psychic gifts. We have all of these people in our history who were actually intuitives or psychics or mystics, but they were known for something else. And people just didn't acknowledge that they were combining intuitive information with other information. So like Harriet Tubman, people will talk about how knowledgeable she was about like the stars and the plants, and she knew what plants to tell people they could eat, what was safe to eat, what would poison you. She knew how to travel by tracking the stars, right? So she had these other knowledge bases. She was also really good at communicating, and so she was able to talk to different people and kind of talk people into things. She was a leader, right? She had all these gifts, right? But then people don't talk about as much her psychic gifts. And the same is true with someone like Einstein, or someone like Tesla. They talk about it more because he did explicitly talk about it. All right, let me see what other comments we have. And I'm assuming my moderators are here. If they aren't, and if there's some kind of shenanigans in the comments, let me know. I never really have problems. I had one person yesterday who was trying to insult me, but it was just kind of funny to me. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, cat mom. Yeah, Da Vinci and Einstein were both dyslexic. Einstein also clearly had ADHD. A lot of geniuses are neurodivergent. And in fact, people have said that Einstein might have been autistic as well. Okay. Dictation. Oh, I don't know what that is. Okay, I'm just looking to see if there's any other questions. Yeah, Einstein was a pantheist. This person says Raven 3 Moon Newton was probably an alchemist. Yeah, we need to get to the point where we're past, this bifurcation or this kind of separation of different sources of knowledge. We need to start having a more holistic approach to knowledge acquisition, right? And it has to do with our history, right? We have this kind of, in the West, we have this kind of, someone said the video is getting pixelated. I'm actually connected directly to not Wi-Fi, directly to my Ethernet. So I shouldn't be having any issues on my end. I teach a lot of classes online. So let me know if other people are having issues. Because if not, it might be on your end. But let me know. All right, here's a question. Will we learn more about 3i Atlas on December 19th when it passes closer to Earth? It doesn't really ever get really close to Earth, but it'll be its closest that it will be on its trajectory to Earth. And so the reason that's important is because then the telescopes that we have on Earth that are really strong can take pictures of it. And like right now, when it went by Mars, the best way to look at it was through the Mars high rise, because it was going right by Mars. And we actually have something orbiting. We have an orbiter, and I think there's a couple of countries that have orbiters on Mars. And so I kind of was expecting. So I do have some blurry video from a few people. So let's see. I'm going to close down. See if I can close down something. Close down this whole thing. I was going to show you some more stuff, but I guess I don't have to. If it's affecting my images, we will close them down. All right, closing down stuff. See if it helps. Planetary Society. So many good pictures. I'm going to hold on to that image to show you. Okay, we'll get rid of that one. Most of my windows that are open are about 3i Atlas. I'm just like, oh, I might want to show them this picture. I might want to show them this picture. Okay, so tell me if it's better now. If the image is better. Yeah, I have my Wi-Fi off and I have my Ethernet connected, which usually is sufficient. No, shouldn't be a camera problem, but I can. Just in case, clean the camera. It is, StreamYard is putting me on 2 different screens at once, which is a new feature. And I don't know if that, it looks a little worse now. That's hilarious. Okay. Let me take a piece of cloth. Maybe that'll be better. All right. Yes, we are having a storm. I forgot about that. We're having, what do they call it? An atmospheric river in Los Angeles right now. It's been raining all day. And it is affecting some people's electronics, although I haven't had any effects over on my end. And from where I'm looking, the image looks fine. So I don't know. But back to this question. Starboy's messing with the signal. My camera lens is not dirty. I've been recording videos all week and they've all been fine. So I just cleaned it off just in case. It seems a little clearer now. Okay. So yeah, it could be the storm. We are having a storm here. It's not affecting my end for some reason. Oh, Auntie Wandy says visual distortion is because you're too high energy. That's funny, but you know what? When I was younger, I did used to have a real issue with electronics. So your aura can interfere with electronics. In fact, I've never really been able to wear a watch, and I like to wear a Fitbit, but my Fitbit never lasts for more than a year. Every year I've had like 3 Fitbits. It breaks. And every watch I ever tried to wear wouldn't keep time correctly. But I don't seem to have that effect like on my computers and stuff like I used to when I was younger. I seem to have gotten control of it, but someone said it's worse. We know it's you. So I'm going to try to answer that question. Since I don't know what else to do. I'm already on Ethernet. I've closed most of my windows. I am going to show you a couple images, and then and then I can close those windows too. So let me see if I can show you. I wanted to say one more thing about 3i Atlas. That's new. It's newish. Okay, where is it? Okay, here it is. It's the first one. Yeah. So there's even a congresswoman who has been trying to get NASA to release the images from the HiRISE orbiter for a few weeks now. And so it's not just some of us out here rabble rousing and saying, why don't they release the images? We even have a congresswoman, and she's on a special committee. The reason she's the one asking for them, because she's on, gosh, I forget the name of the committee, but it's a committee that deals specifically with declassifying information and, government secrets. And so she knows that this is supposed to be out there. And so she actually reached out directly to the, to the head of NASA, and asked him, where are the images? Why aren't you releasing them? Send them to me. And he did not respond to her, but he did respond to Kim Kardashian, apparently, asking him a question on his social media. And so that was kind of crazy. So yeah, something is up. Why aren't they releasing the images? Why don't any scientists have access to the images? And so I'm going to close that window, and then I want to show you another image, and then I'll close that one. Here it is. What's it called? Okay. Okay, before I share it, I got to remember what it's called. So I want to show you the most recent image. Is this it? Not pictures? Yeah, so this is the most recent image from this Nordic optical telescope in the Canary Islands, which is a telescope owned by Spain, I believe. And so this is the most recent image, and you can see that it's very, very round, with no tail, like you would expect with a comet. And then they did all this analysis on it to see, is there a tail they just can't see? So I guess they were trying to figure out all of these different layers around it. And this is a pretty bizarre anomaly, because so here's like an analysis using color. So they use color when they're trying to analyze like the chemical composition of these objects, and they can use color to tell you different things. And so the reason that this is really bizarre, confirmed my channeling, but also very bizarre, is that the image that they had just a couple days before that showed that it had jets in all these different directions, suggesting that maybe it had exploded, or if it not exploded, it was very spread out. And so it went from being very spread out, and 2 days later, it's very round again with no tails, anti-tails, what have you. So these are just so many anomalies. And, this is what they told me was going to happen. They told me when I spoke to 3i Atlas a few weeks ago, they said, we are sending lots of data to your scientists. Your scientists are aware that we are not a comet, and we are sending them lots of data to help them to understand. They did say that they were a multidimensional craft or being, and so we're only capable of seeing things in our 3D dimension. And so we're not able to see everything about them, but that we see enough to know that it's not a comet. And so now we're seeing that, like every few days, whenever a new image comes out, more anomalies, more mysteries, more things that we can't explain. It's very exciting. I think it's very exciting on so many different levels, right? So if you're a physicist, an astrophysicist, an astronomer, or anyone who loves science, it's very exciting that we have this new thing that we don't understand, that's providing us with all of this interesting data that we've never gotten before. It's very exciting, right? This is what discoveries are made of, right? It's also really exciting, I think, for us as a planet to know that there is this thing from another star system that's visiting us, whether it's uh, some type of inert object flying through space, some artifact or relic left over from the creation of a universe or a spaceship, or whether it's actually a manned craft with people in it. Whatever it is, it's really, really interesting and it's really exciting. And now I think it's really exciting because it's kind of coinciding with this shift in consciousness that's happening right now. Um, and it's also coinciding with this kind of major political event in the United States, which is also impacting much of the world with this whole circus that we have in office. And so we're having all of these revelations every day, politically, revelations. And at the same time, we're having scientific revelations when it comes to 3i Atlas. And I don't think it's an accident that they're happening at the same time, that we're finding out about global networks of trafficking and how different countries are working together in terms of different criminal enterprises. And at the same time, we're getting all of this new information about this interstellar object that's challenging, our basic scientific laws. It's all happening at once. And I think it's all related. Deanna is apparently a remote viewer who has remote view or astral traveled and says 3i Atlas is beautiful. I'd like to hear more. Medusa, we have the best planet in the galaxy. Okay, I hope you're joking. We don't know anything about the other planets. We don't know. We have no basis. And it would be arrogant for us to think we're the best. We can say that we love our planet, but we don't know. We don't know. Yeah, what the scientists have said is that they definitely have the images. So it's not like the high rise just stopped collecting data because there was government shutdown. That's not going to happen. It's also not usually the case that scientists stop working because of government shutdown. Yeah, there are some who work for the government, who are paid directly by the government, who I guess could opt not to work. But as we know, a lot of people who are not being paid right now are still working, right? Air traffic controllers, right? TSA. There's a lot of people still working who are not getting paid. So just because there's government shutdown doesn't mean everybody stops working. And especially not when it comes to a major scientific event. And there are a lot of labs. So I used to work in a scientific lab. I've worked in a couple of scientific labs when I was younger, and they get grants from the government, but their funding is not dependent on the government on a day-to-day basis. Of course, that's not true for JPL, right? JPL, I think, is 100% funded by NASA, maybe. But there are lots of other labs. And they always talk to each other and share data. And so there are a lot of, astronomers and astrophysicists who are still working and who are probably all looking at these images. They're just not sharing them with the public. Yeah, so, Elle said that they have a daughter who's a nuclear engineer, and she and her team kept working. Okay, how is my image now? Is it better? I mean, it's still storming here, but let me know if it's any better. I have shut down some more windows. I'll shut down some more. Okay, there was an image. I thought on Japan Times. Okay, here's one more image I wanted to share. And then I'll close that too. So I did share this in a a few days ago, but I'll share it again because everyone who's here wasn't there probably. So this is a recent, this is the Astronomer's Telegraph. It's where astronomers share information. And these two astronomers shared, this was on November 11th. So this is 3 days ago. And those are the images I showed you where it's clearly intact, right? It's clearly one object. It's not exploded. So this is where they, those images come from this post and from these two astronomers, David Jewett and Jane Liu. Okay. Oh, I was going to show that. Oops. I just closed the window. I was going to show you that, what I also do is I go on to different like science news websites. And so I just closed it, but there was a window I had opened, science news, or was it space news? And I'll go on these different sites and I'll do a search for 3i Atlas because scientists typically will be talking about things. And in the science news, people will be reporting on scientific discoveries or exciting new scientific news. And I just did a search on space news and for the last like 6 weeks, and they had no new articles on 3i Atlas for the last 6 weeks. So, and that's true of a lot of these sites I'm going to. There's also a site that I go to called arxiv.org. I can share that real quick. So if you want to try to follow along with like astrophysical news, you can go here. So it's from Cornell University, arxiv. So just jot down this URL, arxiv.org. And you can go on here and do a search. So it looks like this one, I did a search of a comet. But I also go on here on a regular basis and I look up Comet or 3i Atlas to see, what's the newest information. So this is a website for preprints, and a preprint is when a lab or a scientist has done some experiment and it hasn't yet been published because peer-reviewed publications can take months. So they go put it here on this preprint site so everyone can see it and they can kind of share their data, and then they'll tell you when it gets published. And so a lot of times it'll say, oh, they submitted it for publication. They're waiting to hear. In the meantime, look at our data, look at our conclusions, right? And so you can do this, you can search in this and you can find out, has anything been published recently? Okay, I'm trying to do it in real time, so hopefully you can see that. So here we go. Here's an article on the non-gravitational acceleration in 3i Atlas. And so this is it was submitted the 5th of November. So that's fairly recent, right? 10 days ago, 9 days ago. So this was one of the anomalies that, that was talked about, was that when it went behind the sun, it had this non-gravitational acceleration. And so what that means is, going around the sun, they expect it to be impacted by the gravitational force of the sun. And so that's going to have a certain impact on it. And they had already plotted the trajectory of 3i Atlas based on the gravitation of the sun. And then what they found when it came out from behind the sun was that it had changed its velocity in 2 directions. Anytime there's a change in acceleration, change in velocity or acceleration, that has to be accounted for by a change in force or a change in energy, change in mass, right? F equals ma. F equals force equals mass times acceleration. If one thing changes in that equation, you have to account for it with something else, right? Did the mass change? Was there a force that they weren't aware of? What was that force? And so that was another anomaly because there shouldn't have been another force operating on it. So then one hypothesis was, well, if it's a comet, sometimes with a comet, you have outgassing, it's melting, and it's, changing from a solid ice to a gas. That can sometimes add acceleration. That can sometimes influence the speed at which it's moving. But it would only be impacting that in the direction in which it's outgassing. But it actually changed in two directions. So then people were saying, well, maybe there were two different weird outgassing incidents. But then when they got a picture of it out from behind the sun, it had like 16 jets in 16 different directions. And they couldn't really make sense of that. And that's why they said maybe it exploded, because how do you have 16 different jets of material coming out from an object? How did that happen? Right. Again, they couldn't really explain it. That's why they call it anomaly. So they do have a paper on this non-gravitational acceleration, but we should expect a lot of papers, right? Because there are so many anomalies. That means there's so many things that scientists need to explain, which means areas of research. So these are opportunities. Anytime you encounter something you can't explain, that's an opportunity, right, for a scientist to, either theorize or run an experiment to try to figure it out. And so what I was told by my guides is that 3-Eye Atlas is going to provide just whole new fields of study in astrophysics, because all of these anomalies are raising so many interesting questions that it's going to cause, a lot of new research to be done. And so that's another reason why it's really exciting. Okay. All right. So I don't have any, let me see. Do I have any new questions? Okay. All right, so I'm just now looking to see if there's any questions I should answer. Someone's talking about Wingman. So I called IV Borisov, that other comet that they found that was in between 3-Eye Atlas and Earth. I started calling it Wingman because it was near 3-Eye Atlas, and also because I picked up intuitively that they were connected. Yes, welcome everybody. I'm supposed to stop every once in a while and say, welcome, welcome to my live. And I always forget to tell people that I have this buy me a coffee QR code over here. So if you want to buy me a coffee, you can just take a picture of that. Thank you to everybody who bought me a coffee at my last live. I really appreciate it. I also was getting like super chats in my last live. Oh, look, here's some. I don't know why they're not showing up on top like they usually do. So usually they show up on top so that I can see them. So I'm sorry I didn't see your super sticker. Thank you, Shannon Davis, for the $9.99 super sticker. Iris Powers, thank you for the $5 donation. Hi, Jen. I don't go by Jen, by the way, but I love all your videos. I astral projected a few weeks ago. I was flying. Just wonder if I can astral to different planets or galaxy. Yeah, I do that. You can totally do that. So yeah, you can do that. You can also communicate with the different planets. So in my most recent journey, I was communicating with the sun. I mean, it does depend on your gift and your purpose. So that's how gifts work is, we all incarnate with a certain purpose. And depending on what our purpose is, we might incarnate with certain gifts. And I don't just mean psychic gifts, but, but also, oh, thank you, Tam Sea Salts, for the $10 donation. I'm trying to find it so I can put it on the screen. It showed up on the top, but how do I put it on the screen? That one's not going on the screen. All right, I'll see if I can find it down here. So yeah, I'm just looking through here. And so you have a purpose, and thank you to Lori Malay for the $9.99 super sticker. I can see it at the top. Oh, I'm trying to put you on the screen, but I'm not successful. because it shows me at the top, but it doesn't like let me put it on the screen. But thank you for the donations, and thank you everyone who's liking and sharing and commenting and all of those wonderful things. I really love this community, and I actually decided to come on live tonight after coming live yesterday because I just had such a good time. Just hearing from people, reading your comments and your questions. It is amazing talking to the sun. You know, the sun, what I've been told is the sun is our creator. The sun has created all the life in the solar system. And, you know, years ago in my meditations, I was given guidance to start, like I zoom up. This is the kind of meditation I teach everyone to do is to connect your crown chakra to your higher self. And the way I have people envision it is as a sun. And if you can also go from your higher self to the actual sun, and you can then go from the sun to the galactic sun, the central sun. And so it's called a zoom meditation where you just visualize yourself going up from your body to your higher self, to the sun, and then to the galactic sun, and then back through Mother Earth, and then back into your body. And so I was given that meditation years ago, and I started teaching it to my students, and I've been teaching it for many years. And so then over time, I've come to know from other sources that other people have also discovered that if you trace kind of your soul up and connect with like your oversoul, and then connect with all the souls that are connected to you, it will take you to the sun. And so there are other people who have said this. And so just this week when I was talking to the sun, I was given that information again. I was like, you know, the sun is the creator for this solar system. And what they were telling me is that we don't really understand that because we just think of the sun as like our physical source. Like, oh yeah, it gives us sunlight, which keeps, gives the plants chlorophyll, and then the plants are eaten by the animals, and the animals are eaten by the other animals. And, this is how we're all able to live. But that's just the physical understanding. There's actually also a spiritual way in which the soul is our creator. Sorry, the sun is our creator. Okay. So hopefully I acknowledged all the gifts. Thank you for the gifts. And you can use those gifts. One of them is called a super chat, where you make a donation and then you ask a question, and then I answer those questions first. So that's why I'm always looking for them, because I want to honor that YouTube etiquette that someone told me about, that you're supposed to answer those questions first. So hopefully I got them all. Okay. Uh-oh. I just saw one. Oh, here we go. Oh no, I already got that one. Shannon, thank you. Did I already show that one? I'm just trying to acknowledge all of the donations. Thank you for the donation, Tam Sea Salts. And thank you, Lori Malay, for the super sticker. And oh, here's a question. Kathy O'Malley, thank you for the donation. And the question is, Dr. Vest, do you think that the Red Hatters will believe the truth now that the Bubba Bill and Orange Clown and their tryst? Yeah, so I guess we're segueing to discussion of the circus. So I did say for this live that we're going to talk about Three Eye Atlas and also the circus. So for those who don't know, the circus is the name that I've given to our regime here in the U.S. in my stories. And so we just had some news today. And I was ready to talk about this today, but no one had asked. So I was like, well, I guess we keep talking about Three Eye Atlas until someone asks me about the circus. So do I think the Red Hatters will believe the truth? Some will. I mean, for some people, there is kind of, a derangement going on, right? There's something going on where, like when you're in a cult, where no matter what the cult leader does or says, you can't change your mind about them. Right. So there are some people who will drink the Kool-Aid no matter what. Right. But I do think it's going to wake some people up. And so what Kathleen is referring to, for those who don't know, let me try to explain it in terms I can explain without getting in trouble. So there are all these emails being discussed in the news these days. So they've all been, kind of shared publicly and by the Congress. And there are all these emails that were coming from the Epstein estate. So the family of Jeffrey Epstein has released these to Congress, and they have now released them to the public. And the news stations are kind of dribbling out little, 2-3 emails a day. And they're dribbling out the most salacious emails, right? The ones that are the most shocking. And of course, a lot of them are shocking because we're dealing with a pedophile. We're dealing with somebody who ran I hope it's okay to use this plain language on here. I don't want to get in trouble. Those of you who know, I usually use code words. So let's use some of these code words. So the files of Epi are all about this traffic, right? Bad traffic of women and children. And so, of course, there's going to be some ugly stuff in here. And what's really interesting to people is how much of it is about the head clown, right? So our top guy, we call the head clown. I'm not going to use his name on here. So there's a lot of emails about him. And today one came out specifically where Epi was saying that the head clown was offering services, certain salacious services, to a former president of ours whose nickname is Bubba, also goes by Bill, and a blue hatter, right? And so this is really shocking on a number of levels for a lot of people. The idea that these two presidents had a physical relationship, the idea that a red hat and a blue hat had a relationship, the idea that there was a homosexual relationship, the idea that there was a top-bottom relationship where the head clown was in the bottom position in terms of, physical encounters, having dominant orders, right? All of those things are going to be really upsetting to the Magatonians because that group as a whole is profoundly homophobic, and they also really dislike, blue-hatted presidents. And there's also other stuff in these emails talking about PDF files, and his involvement with young girls, and his knowledge of Epi and what he was doing with young girls. And so there's a lot of stuff coming out that's very, kind of shocking for some people, not for other people. Other people are not shocked. And so the question is this going to wake people up? Are the people who are kind of slavishly following the circus, are they going to rethink that? I think so. I do think a lot of people are in the midst of changing their position. And in fact, I just talked about this today in one of my posts, that there's a website called Leaving Magatonia. That's not really the name. I added extras, but you know what I mean. And the guy's on TikTok, but I think he's also, it's a whole website, I think. And so he's been working with all of these people who have defected from the circus and who are having revelations and wake ups and kind of, coming to their senses about certain things. And what he said today was that a lot of people who are still in Magatonia are very upset about the files of Epi, and they're very upset about these emails. Actually, there was more of a push from that group recently to release the files than any other group. So there were, of course, blue hat people who've been pushing for this, and survivors have been pushing for the release of this, and feminists, and lots of different groups of people have been pushing for this. But there's actually quite a large number of people who were followers, who were Magatonians, who pushed for it. And part of the reason they did is because he campaigned on that. And you got to wonder why, right? But why would you campaign on releasing the files of Epi when you know that you're in the files of Epi and it's going to look really bad for you? I guess he just assumed people would forget about it once he got into office, and that he could just, call it a hoax, which is what he's doing now. And everybody would just accept that. But people are not accepting it. And so there is a big revelation going on. There is a big kind of waking up happening. People are defecting. People are very angry about this. People really do want them to come out. And a lot of the people that want them to come out actually are red hats. And we are also seeing a big shift happening with the lawmakers who wear red hats, right? So we as of today, or was it yesterday, there were 9 Republican Congresspeople who signed on to the petition, the discharge petition, calling for a bill to be passed to release the files of Epi. But some of those people have gone onto the news. I've watched these news broadcasts over the last couple of days on mainstream news stations, where these Congresspeople have come forward and said, look, there's at least 30, 50 more people who are going to vote for this. And then Representative Swalwell, who's a Democrat, he said a couple of weeks ago that he knew personally from talking to them that there were like 100 of red hats that were going to vote for this. And so there seems to be a shift happening. And is this going to be the last straw? Him blowing Bill's saxophone, is that going to be the last straw for some of these people? Probably not for everyone, but for some people, it is going to be the last straw. I'm laughing because it's just kind of silly, right? That people need another straw, right? At this point, like starving people and unaliving people and kidnapping people isn't enough. You need him to do something more. And, so now we're talking about the circus. So I did have, what was the stuff I had pulled up? I did want to show you something about the circus. So I'm closing some more windows. Oh, I might have already closed them all. Yeah, okay. I had some other things I was going to show you, but I think I closed all the windows because of the image issue. Now, Swalwell is Democrat, but I guess he was, talking to some folks over there. So let me see. I think we don't have Evie or Iris on here today to tell me to do a meditation. So some of the new emails, if you're not following along, one of the most influential new emails, I think, is one that's tying Epi and Head Clown to Rasputin. So Rasputin, he has a name similar to Rasputin without the R. Because this is something that I said, that my guides told me, and that I discussed probably like a year ago now. And I've been talking about it for months, about these global connections of bad traffic and these connections between different dictators and our head clown, who also wants to be a dictator, and how they were all connected. And that is starting to come out in these emails. And so I think that's very interesting. And so there was apparently an email where it seemed to suggest that Epi might be working with Rasputin, or that maybe he was an asset, and getting with regard to information that Rasputin had about Head Clown. And so the whole story of Head Clown and the saxophone player, Bubba, the saxophone player, I guess what Epi said was, oh, Rasputin has that video or that image of them doing that thing. And so that's really, that's really interesting too, because what this email is doing for me is it's confirming what I already was told and what I've already shared. And that is that, and what other people have also shared, that, that there's some involvement between Rasputin, the, Epi, the head clown, that has to do with extortion. It has to do with bad traffic, and that this might explain a lot of things, right? A lot of peculiar things that have been going on for some time. It is funny, isn't it, Pat Rainville? Isn't it funny? Emails, the emails, the emails, right? That's what he used to say. So I talked about this in one of my posts about how, what's interesting about head clown is, of course, he's always projecting, right? He often accuses other people of doing things that he does. But what I think is even more interesting is that there's kind of a prophetic element to it, where he projects something onto somebody, and then in the future, right, it comes out that he did that thing. So I think that's kind of interesting too. That's a good question, Pat. I guess we don't know how people are oriented, do we? We think we do. Why would people put something like that in an email? That's the $1 million question, is why are people writing emails about this stuff? I think it's because they think they're untouchable. They're not thinking that anyone could ever access their emails without their permission. They think they're invincible. All right, I heard. Okay. Oh, here's an interesting theory from Elsie. Elise, sorry, I'm probably saying your name wrong. Lane. The head clown was once someone who identified more with the blue hats, and the Bubba thing might have been that's true. Back then they were both blue hats, so they weren't in separate parties back then. Okay. I'm just looking for more questions. Some weird comments. They all have evidence on each other. Yeah, it's true. If you're a criminal and you hang out with criminals, then of course you're going to have stuff on each other. Okay, here's something more about Three Eye Atlas. People are saying it's not a comet, but some are the same who absolutely positive it's a comet. Okay, so are you saying there are some scientists who are saying it's not a comet besides Avi Loeb? I mean, Avi Loeb has been saying he has been saying it's not a comet. He's been saying we don't know what it is. So yeah, let us know, Shannon, who else is saying that. I'd like to know. It's kind of hard. I don't know how at this point a scientist can persist in saying they know it's a comet when there's just too much anomalous data. I agree with this statement. It's not about red or blue. It's about what is true. Hopefully we're going to get to that point in the future where we're no longer talking about red and blue. We're talking about what's true. Okay. Okay. Popcorn. We do need a lot of popcorn. Like I need to go get some popcorn, because I realized, I've been talking about popcorn all year, about how we got to get our popcorn ready. And I just realized that I don't even have, like, I used to have a popcorn popper and I don't anymore. And I don't have a microwave, so I can't make that microwave popcorn. So I'm like, I need to get a popcorn maker and some popcorn, because we need to get our, this is a very exciting show. It's got a great season finale, I think. We've just had so much hope lately. Instead of us having breaking bad news every day, we're getting breaking good news, right? We're getting stuff's coming out. The truth is coming out. Things are being revealed. Things, people are shifting. People are waking up. People are questioning things. And And it's very exciting because it's very exciting for someone like me because, my whole purpose, right? We all have our own purpose for being here. And it's been explained to me that my purpose is to help people with the shift in consciousness, to help people navigate this world and figure out their purpose and stay on their purpose. But it's also my job to help, elevate the consciousness of the planet. And there are some people who came to do that. And so anything that happens, whether it's in the political scene or the scientific scene, the spiritual scene, that is some evidence that we are shifting our consciousness, that we are evolving, is very exciting for me. And what I was told from the very beginning when this thing happened, in November of last year, first thing I did was ask my guides, why did this happen? And they told me a lot of different things, which I've made lots of videos about, but I'm going to just summarize some of it right now. They told me that we needed to go through some things in order for people to wake up so that as a country and also as a planet, we could evolve. And so we're learning the hard way, right? By going through a lot of suffering and chaos and destruction of our norms, of our institutions, of our ideals. We're going through that so that we can, grow. And we're waiting for some people to wake up. Other people are already awake and just like waiting, like, come on, come on. But even those people who think they're already awake, who think they're evolved, who think they have a high consciousness, also have work to do. We all have work to do. And so this event is providing us with an opportunity to, work through our shadows, to work on what do we need to heal? What do we need to improve upon as a person, as a family, as a neighborhood, as a city, as a state, as a country, and then also as a planet. What is it we need to do? How do we begin to treat each other with more respect? How do we unify? How do we become more humanitarian? This is providing us an opportunity. And so we are seeing that. We are seeing that people are coming together. We are seeing that people are beginning to reevaluate some of the things that they were taught. So for example, with this whole ICE thing, right? A lot of innocent people are suffering, and it's waking up other people when they see it happening, when they're witnessing it and they're realizing that person didn't deserve that, right? And also with the revelations about the bad traffic. I mean, these are innocent people who didn't deserve that. And it's causing people to begin to ask more questions about the way women are treated in general in our society, and about the way children are treated, and about the way powerful men are allowed to do things without consequences. We're beginning to question things more, and just to be more reflective, I think, about a lot of things. Let me see if there's any more questions. So it's getting late. You microwave the salt. I don't know what that is. It's some other side conversation I'm not aware of. I did not finish the story about Wingman. I haven't tuned into Wingman. I should. I should. free USA says I'm the only one who's running two. I think you mean that I'm running two lives. It's because it's a new feature. I guess if you're a whatever kind of user, premium user or something on StreamYard, they just rolled out this new feature this week where you can stream vertically and horizontally at the same time, so that people who are on their phones or their iPads, it's easier for them to see you instead of having to have the screen, weird. So that's why I have two. But I'm not sure why it creates two different lives, because I think what happens is then when the replay, like if you want to watch this replay, there are going to be two different replays, I think. So I haven't figured that one out yet. Is more better? Not always. So let me stop and do the things I'm supposed to do that I never remember to do. I'm supposed to promote my something. Here's my buy me a coffee if you want to buy me a coffee. A bunch of people bought me a coffee the other day. I was so happy. And you can also send me the super chats and all of that. I appreciate. So I just want to thank everybody. And I just want to thank everybody for coming to these lives, for commenting and liking and subscribing. If you, I also have a membership on here. I also have a Patreon. If you want to join my Patreon, I do like behind the scenes videos. In fact, I think I need to do one. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow. About once every week or so, I do a behind the scenes video on my Patreon. And I'm going to have to do one for my YouTube members too, because I just discovered how to stream for members only. So I'm going to do that. But I wanted to do a video for members only, but I think maybe I can only stream. So I got to figure that out. Is that everything I'm supposed to promote? Oh, I should be promoting my books. I always forget to do that. I don't have them over here. So I'll do that next time. I have books you can read. One is called The Ethical Psychic. The other one is called Sovereign Wisdom. I have more than those two, but those are my two most recent books. Sovereign Wisdom is about Native American philosophy, and The Ethical Psychic is like a guidebook for healers and psychics who want to know how to practice in an ethical way. Okay. So Lorenzo's got a solution for me. I can use olive oil with stovetop popcorn. Is that like the poppy, what's it called? I should go look for that. Do they still sell that? When I was a kid, they had that. Was it called Pop Fresh or something, where it was like a little pan with a little handle and then it popped up and the popcorn was inside. Jiffy Pop. Is that what it's called? I don't know if I can still find that. Okay, let's talk about this. I don't know if you can hear that rain. It's been raining here all day. It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow. They call, I don't know why they call it an atmospheric river. In LA, we're not used to rain. So when it rains, like people don't drive or people just kind of stay home. They don't want to go anywhere. They don't want to make plans. We're afraid of the rain. It's really nice though to be inside and hear the rain. Okay, let's address this question. This question of ET disclosure. So this is something that I asked Bri Atlas about, because the big question that a lot of people had or still have for some people is, are they coming to Earth? Do we have to be worried? Is there going to be disclosure? Right? These are questions. And some of the answers I got, I was told I could not share, but I'm going to share the part I can share. And that is that the disclosure is happening soon. Like I got the sense of a few months. And what they told me was that they're kind of like a scout. They're not really going to be a part of the disclosure in the sense of they're not going to like show up on planet Earth and come out of the spaceship and walk around and be like, Nanu, Nanu, we're real. Wake up, Earthlings. They're not going to be a part of that. But what they said was that the data that they're sending to the scientists is preparing us for an expanded understanding of our place in the cosmos. And so that's why 3i Atlas is like a really important harbinger. It's like an important sign, an important kind of moment for us to realize, okay, we're not alone. But there are others that are actually going to come and engage in a major disclosure event, and they are, they do communicate. There's communication between them, but they're not a part of that. So they're not a part of like the disclosure event. And so this question that Bluebird says hi is asking is, is it, well, it wasn't a question, it's a statement, but I'm going to interpret it as a question. Is it impossible for the disclosure to happen with him in power. I don't think so. I don't think it's impossible. But I do think that, although I don't know for sure what the timeline is, I do feel like he's going to shuffle off the mortal coil before that happens. That's my impression. I could be wrong, but that's my impression. What is this? Let me put my glasses on before I put a question up here. Sweetie Mac. Okay, that's kind of funny. They'll release it once they can make money off of it. Yeah, streets become rivers in LA in the rain. Yeah, we're not really built for rain here. Oh, someone said it's still available, but at Walmart. Yeah, but do I want to go to Walmart, you know? So many boycotts, so little time. Stovetop with a glass lid. I mean, I have made stovetop popcorn. It's just not as reliable in terms of the burning. Okay, I'm just looking for any more questions. And then I don't know, should I do, we're getting pretty late in terms of I've been on here for an hour and 40 minutes. I could do a meditation. I did a meditation the other day. It's blurry again. So it's I don't think it's me because I have very few windows open and I'm on Ethernet. I just don't, I mean, I teach a lot of online classes. That doesn't happen unless it's the storm. Okay. So, let's see. So let me know if you want me to do, yes, we live in interesting times. Here's a question that I'm going to put up here, even though I don't have the answer. You know, yeah, I think it is the web. That I got that by accident, but okay, I'm trying to find it, but there's so many questions. Here it is. Here's a question. So this is one of the things you learn in graduate school. So, you know, so I have a few different degrees, right? So I did my bachelor's in physics and philosophy of science. And then I did my master's in history. And then I did my PhD in ethnic studies and philosophy. I did indigenous philosophy for my thesis, my dissertation. I did a postdoc in, it's hard to remember all this stuff, feminist philosophy of science. Why am I telling you this? Because one of the things you learn in academia is you have to learn how to know when you know the answer to the question and when you don't, and you have to be able to publicly say, I don't know the answer to that question. This is one of the main things you learn, I feel like, when you get your PhD, is how to say, I don't know the answer to that question. And you may feel like that's not a big accomplishment, but it is. It is, because when you learn a ton of stuff, you do start thinking you know everything because you know more than the average bear. And you go to these conferences, and then also the culture is such that, you know, you don't want to look like an idiot, right? You want to look like you know. But you have to get to that point where you're really clear about, okay, this is what I know, this is what I don't know. And I think that's why it really bothers me when scientists are so egotistical that they can't say, I don't know. We legitimately don't know what 3i Atlas is, right? Like, we should be able to say that. So anyway, this is in reference to this question. What's up with Hillary? I really don't know. I haven't tuned in to her, so I haven't, I don't have any special information about her because I haven't tuned into her. I used to tune into Kamala quite a bit, and I haven't tuned into her recently either. This person says that she's laughing. I'm really less interested in that, you know. I'm really less interested in, you know, the personal relationships and the gossip and the drama of it all. Like, some people find it very titillating, right, to find out that maybe there was this physical relationship between these people. And, you know, I really just care about the big picture. And so I care about that news, that email, only because it has the potential to shift people's consciousness, which can help us all, right, to evolve and to get the circus to evacuate and to actually rehabilitate and rebuild our country. So that's the only reason it's worth reporting to me, is because it's a part of that bigger picture. And that's what I talk about, on my channels. Is I always talk about the big picture. I always talk about, if I'm talking about the news, if I'm doing, which side is which, Metatron news, I'm doing it to be funny, because humor is really important to help us get through the apocalypse. But I'm also doing it to help people stay hopeful. But I'm also doing it to get people to see the bigger picture, like these little things that are happening. There's a pattern, or there's a trend, and it's helping us to kind of wade through the morass of all the breaking bad news, because it's difficult, right, for those of us living in the United States to to listen to all the news. Kathy, namaste. Thank you for the super sticker. Here you are. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it. And I saw another one. Thank you also to Jan Sicer for the super sticker. And hopefully I didn't miss any. Let me just scroll through and make sure I didn't miss any. I always like to say thank you. I really appreciate when people give me donations, because what it tells me is that what I'm offering is valuable. That's what all the comments tell me. That's what the likes tell me. That's what the donations tell me. They tell me to keep doing this work, right? It tells me, okay, keep doing this work. People value it. You're helping people. And this is the way they're letting me know. My guides, on November 5th, were giving me information about what happened last year. And I thought, I felt very alone in that moment. Like, what? Am I the only one who thinks this? And then I went online and I started finding some other psychics saying the same thing. And on November 7th, I started posting, and my guides were like, we want you to do this every day, or as much as possible, because the people need you. So I've been doing it for a year. And I have, complained occasionally to my guides, like, hey, I do have to make money. I have to work. I can't do this all day, every day. Because when you have to read hundreds of comments a day and research the news and go into a 1 hour or 2 hour trance to get information, it does take up your whole day. And they were like, I'm like, look, if you want me to do this every day, like, you have to make sure I can still pay the bills. And so they just told me to trust and believe. And so whenever I see stuff like this, like people giving me these donations, it's like proof that my guides were right, that if I just do this work, there you are. I was trying to put you on the screen, Kathy, namaste, to thank you, that I'll be provided for, right? So it's meaningful to me for a lot of different reasons. It's not just money. It means something to me. It means that the work I'm doing is important. So thank you. So yeah, someone said your guides were right. So thank you for all the kind words. And I sometimes do a meditation, but you know what? I am feeling like I've been on here for so long. I get kind of tired when I talk this long. So unless I didn't see anyone really insisting on a meditation, sometimes people do. So I'm going to hold off and do a meditation next time, because I think I'm going to start doing more lives. I just feel like I just really like the back and forth. I make these videos and it's just me, right? What is it? What is that expression? Yelling into the wilderness or into the dark? What is that expression? I can't remember the expression. Yelling into the wind. And I really like the lives because I get to hear your questions and your comments, and then it feels more interactive. Like, oh, I actually get to know my community a little bit, and it's not so one-sided. I really hope that one day we'll have like a big gathering or conference. And for a while, I was trying to make that happen. I was trying to organize all the dreaming women. I was, I was on TikTok and I was like promoting all of the other dreaming women. I was doing all these lives and having all of them come on my live and doing all of these conversations with other intuitives. And I was also forming like groups offline, like in Zooms and texts and signal chats. And for a while I was thinking, oh, maybe we're going to get all the dreaming women, all the psychics, all the 4am Club people together. But it didn't really happen. And then my guides kind of got on my case and said, you're always trying to do this. You're always trying to, bring people together and help people to, come together. And they said, we didn't tell you to do all that. We told you to help the people by speaking, telling stories, making videos. You don't have to like do all of this organizing. And so I stopped. But I still have it in my mind, as a dream that one day we're all going to get together and have some big, like big party or conference or whatever. So I still have that vision. Thank you to Lightweather for the $10 donation. And thank you for the kind words. Thank you to I Am Aloha for the donation and the kind words as well. Did I put everyone up here? I don't want to miss anybody. Did I? I don't think I got you yet, Kathy. Cass for the, thank you, Cass, for the $10 donation. Popcorn fund. Yes, I got to go get some popcorn, some Jiffy Pop. Oh yeah. Is my coffee? You know what? It should be, but it's not. Thank you. I need to do that. I just got the buy me a coffee QR code. There it is. I just got it. It's on my link tree, which is like on my TikTok and my YouTube profile and stuff. But you know what? It should be on my website. It's not. So I will go put it there. But you can find it in my bio under the like my profile on YouTube. You can find my links, and it's there on my link tree. There's also a special link just for the buy me a coffee. So thank you. I got, what's really nice is I did a live yesterday and people sent me buy me a coffee, and I checked it after the live, and I was like, oh, look at all these people bought me a coffee. This is so sweet. And then some people also send me money through Venmo, which is just the same URL as my name on YouTube. Jennifer Lisa Vest is also my Venmo. And so last night I got a Venmo. I got a Venmo from somebody. And then this morning, I got another buy me a coffee this morning. And that was so sweet. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure I got all the questions in the super chats, that I want to acknowledge them. Yeah, wouldn't it be great to have a psychic convention? So I think, yeah, we got to have a big celebration. And, I'm always encouraging you. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to call it a night. But I'm always encouraging people to celebrate when you can. Like, we got to celebrate every win. Anything that happens that brings you joy or that makes you feel hopeful, celebrate it. That's why I'm celebrating 3i Atlas. Like, I've been doing a lot of posts on 3i Atlas, also because we can't always talk politics. Sometimes we need a break. But I do feel like they did tell me it's all related, that this is related to the circus living town. It is related to our shift in consciousness. It is, it's related to these different revolutions: scientific revolution, intellectual revolution, spiritual revolution, political revolution. It's all related. But it's also joyful, right, to celebrate these wins. And so, like, we got to celebrate any chance we can. So any good news you get, celebrate. Phone a friend, text a friend, pop some popcorn, celebrate it. Like, I'm feeling really joyful about the fact that 3i Atlas, the data is confirming what my guide said, which makes me feel really hopeful about disclosure, about humanity expanding our consciousness, about our place in the universe. Like, that's really exciting to me. So I was also celebrating the election, the blue wave, and celebrating that the discharge petition got signed. I'm celebrating that so many red hats are shifting and recognizing that they need to stop being so slavishly devoted to one person and be more devoted to our country and our Constitution. So there's a lot to be happy about, and so we gotta remember that. So yeah, it's in the link. People are still asking for the QR code. I'm backwards, so I can never remember. I can't point that direction because the screen is not where I am. That's where the Buy Me a Coffee QR code is. It's also in my link tree. Okay, that's a funny one. Okay, I got to put that up there. Oh, now I lost it. You guys are hilarious. Once so-and-so goes, someone will need to convert all those voodoo dolls to candy dolls. Oh, hilarious. Oh, Lightworker's a new member. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and here's another gift. Thank you, Meowshra. Meowshra. For the $10. You just found me so inspiring. Oh, I'm so glad. That's my purpose. That's my whole purpose of being here, is to keep people hopeful and inspired so that we can travel through this together and get to the other side of it where things are going to be a lot better. Yeah, I forgot about the secret code. Yeah, unfortunately, so I started out, a year ago on TikTok, and I got so severely censored. Numerous threats to take down my account. And so I started talking in code and then I started telling stories, and then I really liked that because I am a storyteller. So I was like, oh, this was just maybe a vehicle to get me to start telling stories. And some people don't use code and they don't get dinged. So I don't know why they decide to ding certain people, but I was dinged so much over the last year that I'm now very careful. Now on YouTube, I haven't really had that problem. I feel like I've been able to, I don't see the same problem on this platform, but I do hear some of my mutuals talk about it. So I just feel like better to be cautious, right? Oh, someone's giving directions on how to do the buy the coffee. Yeah, you got to take a picture with your phone. You put your phone in front of it, and then you click on it, and it takes you to the buy me a coffee. Buy me a coffee. Should I do it? Should I demonstrate? Okay, so let's say I put my camera on, and let's see. And then there's going to be like a little yellow, you just kind of click on the QR code. And then when you do, it brings up, see how it brings up buy me a coffee. Oh, now it's gone. It brings up the site. Uh-oh, did I miss? Did I miss any? Okay, I don't think I did. I want to make sure I acknowledge everybody who either joins or donates. I just want to not miss anything. And so I appreciate all of you. And so thank you for joining my live, and I'm going to call it a night. I will see you next time. And yeah, I'll probably be doing more lives because people seem to enjoy them. So thank you. Good night.